Well, hi everybody. Hi. As you can see, I've just come out of the shower, but I did blow dry my hair. Let me put on my little scarf to keep me it's a bit of a spring chill today. Bit of a spring chill. Hello everybody. Welcome. We have, starting with 150 or 136 beautiful souls, 128 now. Oh, where's everybody going? I got here. You're supposed to come back. Don't leave. I'll come back. My hair looks strange. So how has everyone been? How's the weekend been treating you? Everybody good? Yeah. All right. Well, before we get started, as is my way, is that right? Yeah. We're going to give gratitude to, oh man, my hair looks so strange. Maybe I should have put some gel in it or something. I don't know. We're going to give gratitude to everybody who was kind enough to join us. Oh, thank you, Face Painter. That's very kind for that generous donation. I appreciate that. Happy Sue to the rescue. Oh, hello. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Equi333. 3. There's 4 threes. Welcome. Rita R. Berry, 53, is in the house. Hello. Thank you for moderating. Julie Torado. Hello. I was going to ask Julie if she wanted to be a moderator. Did she want to be? I'm going to make you a moderator. Because I see you here a lot. And yeah. Hello, Patricia. Welcome. Cartomancy Mosquitoes in the house. Welcome. Welcome, Starfish. Hello. Chase Zemo. Well, we'll continue to say hi to everybody, as is my way, as we go along. Gosh, it's good to see everybody, 300 strong. And thank you, Donna Fuller, for that amazing donation. I have so much to get through, and the good news is I'm going to get through it with all of you. So, curl serum, that's it. Yes, my curls go a little crazy sometimes. I guess if you're going to straighten your hair the way that I was thinking about straightening he gave me, and I forgot to put the leave-in conditioner. He said you have to put a leave-in yeah, I didn't do that. I just blew, and we see the results. Oh, well, it's all good. Thank you, Terry. See, Terry's the teacher's pet. I'm just kidding. She's a very good student. I will be correcting homework, by the way. I'll get notes and comments back on people's homework today for people who've been waiting. I got a little behind on grading homework. So before we get started, be sure and share, like, subscribe, and click the bell notification if you haven't done so yet. If you want to get a tarot reading or you need to hire me as a remote viewer, etc., you can go to tarotwithwhimsy.com. And it looks like I got hacked. My identity got hacked. And it actually had a significant impact on how many people were booking. And I actually was getting messages from people on WhatsApp saying, oh, looking forward to my appointment on Tuesday. And I'm like, you don't have an appointment on Tuesday with me through WhatsApp. So for people who were victims of that, I'm sorry that happened to you. But the proper way to make an appointment with me is tarotwithwhimsy.com, or if you go to my About section, I think there's a direct link onto the Gen Book booking site, and you just do that. So I apologize. I hope nobody lost their money or anything bad happened. All right, so it's a pain more than anything else. The next thing we're going to, thank you, Brenda. You're so kind. The next thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about a beautiful gift that I received from Roxanne. The artist name is Roxanne Dungero. And she is an unbelievable artist. And I want to take a moment to talk about this. piece of art. She is creating Brujeria bags. Bruja, witches bags. Look at this. But what's amazing is the witch's bag that she sent me. Look at this bag with the pearls. This witch's bag, she constructs these bags from old pieces of cloth, antique pearls, things you find in antique shops. And then, but what I love about this, and I put my senior deck in this. You can put your tarot deck, your senior deck. If you want to get a bag for yourself, the link, I've pinned the link for Roxanne's art. But what's interesting about what she designed, what time period does this look like? Victorian, Edwardian. I'm actually more attracted to the Edwardians than the Victorians, because the Edwardians kind of let it all hang out, right? They got rid of the corset and they started exploring, early feminist ideas, the women's suffragettes. So, but I love the pearls. I love the design. Oh, it takes me back to, I feel like I had a past lifetime that was significant during the time of the Edwardians. Who here loves the writings of Edith Wharton? The House of Mirth. That's this feeling, but it gets better. When you open the bag, it has a smell. And the smell is antique perfumes, like perfumes from 100 years ago. Perfumes that your grandmother wore, your great-grandmother. She finds the scents and she puts it on a sash, and she puts the sash into the bag. And it brings back this ancient memory in me of going to yard sales and looking at old clothes from estate sales. And this smell is such an old smell from so many years ago, and I know it. And smells are powerful, right? We've talked about this. It's the first cranial nerve, right? It's the most ancient nerve, right? It's the most ancient part of ourselves, right? This is how snakes don't have ears. They have like little tympanic membranes, and they sense vibration, and then they open their mouth and they smell and they taste, the most primitive part of us, right? So smell is associated, the olfactory nerve, with the amygdala. There's a new word for some people. Amygdala. Amygdala is a part of the brain that stores memories, but it's a huge part of complex post-traumatic stress disorder also, because the amygdala stores negative memories. And it's so closely linked to the first cranial nerve, olfactory senses. So olfactory senses take us back to memories, both positive and negative. For example, if you were in love with a guy and he wore a particular cologne and he was the love of your life 40 years ago, and so you smell that cologne, all those memories will come back because they're stored in the amygdala, and they're stored next to the sense of smell. So the artist has put that in, so it takes you emotionally back to the time. Beautiful, beautiful work, Roxanne. And you deserve special praise. And I know that you'll get so many customers. See, a lot of the reason why artists are not selling lots of art isn't because you aren't brilliant as an artist. A lot of you have sent me your art. You are brilliant as an artist. It's just that nobody knows you exist. Oh, why did Van Gogh not sell a painting? Because he was depressed, hanging out in a field. Nobody knew he existed. Once people knew he existed, but a lot of good it did him, he wasn't alive anymore, right? So the main problem that I think a lot of artists have is that nobody knows they exist. And so my job is to help you, Roxanne. And I believe in you. And this gift is one of the most wonderful gifts I've ever received. And so I'm very happy. It's an honor and a privilege to promote your work. And I thank you for that. All right. Next gift. You guys have been so generous. My ex-husband's an actor, and I love sending him little clips telling him how fun it is to become famous on YouTube and get presents. It's kind of like me jokingly rubbing it in his face. It's yes, the fans and the gifts are just wonderful. But of course, as a struggling, starving actor, you would never know that. I'm kidding. I'm only twisting the knife in jest. No. Anyway, thank you, Eileen. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. You're always so generous. Look at these earrings that they sent. I hope everybody laughed at that because the ego thing had to go. Hi, Roxanne. I love you. You are the bomb. Thank you. It meant everything to me that you gave me that gift. And it says a lot about you that you knew the right gift. Like you knew the right bag. That bag. Oh, I don't know who you are, but I love you, Roxanne. Seriously, it was amazing. All right. So now the next amazing gift. I hope everyone was laughing at that last joke about my ex because it was a joke. All right. Yeah, people were unsubscribing. They thought I really remember that ego character I was developing when I went back to Australia. I try out characters on this show because I'm an amateur comedian. I am. Linda G is a professional comedian. She says, "Oh no, I'm not, honey. You're a professional. You've been on the stage. You're the real deal." But I'm an amateur comedian, so I try to get people to laugh, and I try different characters. And the truth of the matter is that sometimes people are so kind to me on this channel that I'm embarrassed by it. You're so gracious. You're so kind. You're so loving that I don't know what to do with it, and I become embarrassed. I'm just being transparent. And so I developed a character that was really egotistical to deal with it. And I got it right. And I wanted to laugh it off because I was a little humbled by your kindness. And people thought it was real. So I had to kill the ego character. So a lot of people are like, how come you don't do that character anymore? I'm like, well, it's like Rosanna Dana. It would be like believing that Rosanna Dana was real. So I had to let the ego character go. 30 seconds. I thought it was funny. Other people didn't. Other people were disgusted by it. It's like, Andy Kaufman was always a mentor for me as a bit of a comedian. I like being edgy and trying new things. It didn't work. I let it go. Whatever. No big whoop. Anyway, now I got to show you the present. Roxanne, from Eileen and Richard. Look at this. Can you believe this is what I mean? I'm humbled I can't believe how kind people I don't even know giving me such wonderful things. I mean, that's why I give to charity. I don't know what else to do, right? Like what else can you say? But what these are so beautiful. Oh my God, I'm going to put them in right now. Are these not fun? These are like tassels. Yeah. I don't really, thanks, Bora, but I didn't really want my ego to have a moment because I really don't have that big of an ego about this because I believe it. I mean, I teach it. Everybody now who's taking my class, there are people who are doing remote viewing on my class that are better than I am. I don't have an ego about it. I'm happy to do it. Oh, Michelle's here. Hi, Michelle. I missed you. Michelle doesn't come around as often as she used to. What do you think? Beautiful. All right. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Richard. It's really sweet of you. Thank you also. Beautiful card I got from Kakutsa Rap in Australia. Beautiful. I know that a lot of people want me to get onto the readings, but I really do want to show gratitude to everybody. Look at these beautiful cards I've received. Here's one from Janet. Thank you, Janet. These were birthday cards, and I know a lot of people do want to see the lovely things. This is from Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. Also, I received a book, which I did read, and I loved. if you have small children and you would like to support an amazing artist and writer, this book was written by Claudia Noel. And I love the message. And I think it's a really important message to give to children, particularly children who may be beaten down, feeling like they'll never be anything. And you really want to give them a great story that encourages them to believe in their dreams and to work for their dreams, etc. This is a wonderful book for esteem building. And again, it's a gift that I felt needed special attention. So I just wanted to give gratitude again to Claudia Noel. Claudia Noel, On the Wings of a Pig. And in the end, you want to know, does the pig, through his belief and hard work, does the pig achieve his goal? You're just going to have to read it in the end and find out if the pig makes it and if the pig learns how to fly. All things are possible, right? All things are possible. And I think I've already mentioned the great Strings of Light harp music, absolutely stunningly beautiful music. Christina. Oh, see, I've got my contact lenses in. Oh. Christina's the artist. Beautiful. Can't read her last name. Christina Ivana. Christina Ivana is the harpist. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Also, handmade stuff, all the amazing gifts. Okay. I apologize if we're going too long on that. I just wanted to talk about that for a second. Are we ready to move on? We're ready. Okay. So, remote views. The first thing out there is, Rudy, right? Rudy. What happened to poor Rudy? What do y'all think's going on with Rudy Giuliani? So it's interesting. When I had originally gone into, there's some weird stuff going on. One of the weird things that happened was that I was sent to a remote in the Justice Department. And what it looked like, here is how it appeared to me. There is a room. It's like an alcove. It has windows, but you can seal the windows. And the person A, whistleblower, was here. There are desks out here, and these are where the whistleblowers work. This was a private room inside the Justice Department, and it was witnessed that meetings were taking place inside the Justice Department that were not being documented. They weren't on the books. The people were recognizable. Some of them appeared to be members of Trump's legal team. And it was highly unusual and highly inappropriate. So I want people to just see how it appeared to me as the remote viewer. So I guess it's starting to leak now. Is that correct? Somebody told me some of the stuff's starting to leak. We'll just have to watch it. But so how it appears is Barr went in. There were other people. And these coming and goings, these shenanigans, and the people witnessing it. Now, somebody had pointed out recently that Rudy Giuliani was the former lawyer of Trump, and he was part of Trump's legal team. I don't know why. Maybe I am getting older. I didn't put that part in with the raid on Giuliani. But evidently, that is part of the mix. So in addition to everything else, January 6th, the fact that Rudy Giuliani was working with a pro-Russian Ukrainian group of people to overthrow an American election, that's true that's all that's going on with Rudy Giuliani. But there's more going on than that, because based on that remote, it would suggest that there are a lot more people compromised than even than we had thought, and that it may go much deeper than we had thought. So that's the first remote. We'll go ahead and open it up to the floor to talk about the remote. I think it goes much deeper. Look, it was a snapshot. I wasn't in for very long. And I asked permission. So the energy that you're connecting with in the fourth chakra when you're doing HCRV, the only thing she allowed me to see was from her perspective, these people going in and out of that room, that alcove area, and putting the blinds down. And we know who those people are, and it's not on the itinerary, and there's no schedule for any such meeting, and this is highly inappropriate for the Justice Department to be conducting itself like this. That is how I feel. But that doesn't tell me a lot, right? I mean, how much information can we get from just as much because it's a really quick remote, right? You see the people talking, I feel the concern and the fear from the people who were there, who knew who are they going to report? They're going to have to do an internal whistleblow about what they're seeing. So it's interesting. Like I said, I'm a fly on a wall. Sometimes I'm a fly on the wall for an hour. Sometimes I'm a fly on the wall for 5 to 10 seconds. I was a fly on the wall for 5 to 10 seconds. I mean, we'll just have to see how it plays itself out. All right, let's move on. So the next remote has to do with Kristi Noem. People had asked me if I could throw cards on Kristi Noem. She is the governor out of South Dakota. I think we'll throw cards on her today. A lot of people are talking about her being possibly a candidate, if not the presidential, but then the VP position for 2024. We'll throw on it. If I don't feel, based on the energy of this person, that she would be running for president. If she was running for anything, I could see her as VP. I wouldn't see her winning. That's the main thing I get with that. But I would be curious. I think we can go ahead and throw on it later if people like. The next remote view had to do with the Republicans. And again, we'll throw cards on this. A lot of people are asking about attempts by the Republican Party in order to limit the number of people that are able to vote. And specifically, people wanted me to look at the formation of the Election Integrity Brigade. And the Election Integrity Brigade was started by the Republicans. They wanted 10,000 people who could be at the polls to make sure that people were voting properly. There are currently 40 bills to expand poll watchers and to expand the rights of poll watchers. The Brennan Center for Justice has come out concerned about it. Texas also wants to videotape people asking questions at polls, which some people see as voter intimidation. I do see, again, we can throw on it, but it feels to me that a lot of this stuff will have trouble developing steam. I think some of this stuff's going to go to the Supreme Court, and I think it's going to get shot down by the Supreme Court. Do we have any questions about that? Okay, so we're ready to move on. Okay, so the next remote, wow, comes from Richard Branson. Richard Branson, who created Virgin America, Virgin Atlantic, et cetera, et cetera. He now has Virgin Galactica. That's a mouthful, right? Galactica, Virgin Galactica. All right, so Virgin Galactica is attempting to create the infrastructure for space tourism. Does anybody know about this? It's interesting when you go into Richard Branson's energy because they, they can't afford to lose if it's tourism and if it's not space exploration, if it's just tourism from his perspective, you can't even lose one tourist, right? Nobody. So they're going to have to keep doing these trips. Everything has to be on automatic, just like a drone. You send them up, you send them down, you send them up, you send them down, you send them up, you send them down. It's like an elevator. Remember what I had said when we followed the energy of these thinkers? What did we say? We said we followed the energy of Elon Musk. We followed the energy of Jeff Bezos. And we followed the energy of Richard Branson. And we found floating cities, right? Floating cities similar to the space station rotating the earth, and that people would be buying condos. And it was kind of, people were joking about it because if you expanded the space stations into livable condos, and then you eventually, what it looks like Richard Branson wants to do with the space tourism is you go up, you spend 5 months in your timeshare, you come back down. Or you could buy a condo that rotates around the earth and then come back down, or the different types of ideas about colonies, floating cities, etc. It's kind of, and they're saying, no, once we get it built, it's not going to be that expensive. It's not going to be that expensive. Well, once we get started to buy a condo up there, it's not going to be too bad. Exactly. It's not going to be too bad once they build it to buy a condo up in space. The problem is the cost, they're realizing, the expense is in getting you there. So construction that's going to be stable, that can house people, that's not the main problem they're having to make this doable from Richard Branson's perspective when you go into this energy. The problem is the cost. So grandma wants to buy a condo. Grandma wants to buy a condo up in space, but she's risen and she can't come down, right? It's like, grandma's risen and she can't come down because she can't afford the cost. So you wind up there for what, 5-6 months, a year, and you don't have a return ticket. You see where we're going here? So yeah, the condo only costs $500,000 and you get to rotate over the earth, but are you pinching quarters to get back down? I mean, so that's kind of the exciting thing that's happening with Richard Branson. They're making it happen, but it's so damn expensive that, again, everybody thinks the floating city is the big expense. And I mean, it would be cool if you had a grandmother that was a scientist or something, and Joe, I want to go up in space and I'm going to buy a condo up there. It's going to be amazing. But it's like visiting her, you would have to, mortgage your house or something, right? Anyway. Okay. Are we ready to rock and roll? Are we ready to do some blitzes? Thank you, Olive. All right, sweethearts, let's do this. Let's do some blitzes. All right, I'm going to open up your questions. Can get rid of this stuff. I'll put it here. Actually, I don't have to do that. I can open up here. I keep forgetting I can do a second. All right, let me do this. All right, is everybody ready for the collective reading? Yeah, would everybody like to have a tarot reading? You ready? We usually start the tarot reading around 11:30. We do the empath prayer prior to doing the collective. You folks really know my schedule now. It's really awesome and wonderful and amazing that I have so many amazing, cool people keeping me on track. I love you too. Would you like to say hello to them? You want to kiss me? Let's do the Empath's prayer together, shall we, Mila? All right. Okay, let me get my beautiful cards out of Roxanne's beautiful bag. She's got little dangles for Mila too. Look at that. Oh my goodness. You know you love that. Okay, don't hurt it though. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, for the planet, for the people we love, but also to help those we may have strife with. And together we say, collectively as a community, Amen. She has taken the chair, so I'm going to have to read here. I apologize. I know you want to see the cards, but Mila wants you to look at her instead. Okay. What is the collective for us? A lot of people only come for the collective, and I'm okay with that. Like they'll show up at 11:30 because they know the collective is starting. I get that not everyone can stay for an hour and a half. Okay, where we are at right now, things are going great. Remember what we had said about the month of May. It's time to wakey, time to get up now. Wakey, time to get up. Who here is awake? Who here wants to go back to bed? Yeah, so we talked about this in the past, that there was this energy building. It was building. It was very aggressive. It was very loud. It almost felt like metal clanging. It was the most unpleasant sound. It was basically the sound of everybody being forced awake to wake up and go back to work. And a lot of people already were at work. But we were not working the same as we used to. Yes, I was at work the whole time, but was it really the same? I mean, I closed my offices. Everything had to be done through telehealth via a screen. But it also, because everything got converted to telehealth, gave me the tools to move back to Portland, right? So yeah, some of us were working, but we were working in a different sort of way. We were not connecting with people in the same way that we did. Everything had to be done literally virtually. This is kind of as close to heaven as we're going to get, right? Everything is virtual. You have a thought, and then you're able to communicate it with someone and see that person sometimes half a world away. You know, it's an amazing technology now that we can do this. But where we're coming into right now, the base of the matter is the magician. We're coming into our power. And it's also a time, like I said, we're waking, we're starting to make things happen for ourselves, and a real determination that we have the tools needed in order to create a beautiful life for ourselves. And the karma coming in for us is the King of Pentacles. King of Pentacles has a lot of different aspects. It's the hidden king. It's the financial, it's the money-making king. It's the businessman. He's also the keeper of secrets, which actually can be a good thing if you're looking for someone to trust, because he will die with the secrets. He's the kind of friend you want to have when you're talking to someone heart to heart, and you don't need that person to go and tell their best girlfriend or boyfriend everything that you just told them. This is the person that understands that part of creating the sacred is you don't violate a trust. You don't need to talk about every aspect of our intimate relationship with your new wife. An example, that would be an example. somebody who takes something intimate and throws it up all over to the world and betrays that trust. That would be something that would destroy the sacred. The King of Pentacles is the other man. It also can be tall, dark, and good looking. It can sometimes be, if you're looking for a partner, he can be the other man, or he can be the tall, dark, good looking businessman that you've been waiting for. But I'm more into artists myself, but everybody's got their flavor. But it's a time, it definitely denotes a time of being grounded, a time of being physically responsible, a time of being trustworthy in terms of keeping secrets for people that need to be kept. I'm not talking about people committing crimes or doing abusive things. I'm just talking about being keeping things close to your chest in that respect. Thank you, Sherry. It's very kind. Appreciate that. Where we are at right now is the Hierophant. Hierophant is about spirituality, and it's about ethics. It can be dogma, depending upon what type of cards. For example, if it was connected to a devil card, it might have a negative aspect like religious extremism or something like that. But it has a religious aspect to it, a spiritual aspect, and then we have a Six of Wands. So I think there's also an aspect of self-esteem there, because the Hierophant, I think of the Hierophant as the card that denotes the inner guru, the inner guru. It's that part of us that we abide with in the heart when we're trying to find out how we really feel about whatever. We take a moment to abide in the heart. That's the inner guru. That's our highest guru. It's the inner guru. It's the inner heart, being true to ourselves. So I like the fact that there's a Six of Wands there, a feeling that we are coming closer to our authentic selves and closer to a recognition of our authentic selves, a recognition of the ways in which we may have restrained ourselves. How many times have you told yourself no? If you want to take that trip, take that trip. It's actually not that hard to do. Make sure you're vaccinated. Make sure your passport's up to date. It's not very expensive. There are cheap ways to do it, trust me. Sometimes we tell ourselves, oh no, I can't. Oh no, I mustn't. Oh no, why not? So Eight of Swords is a card that denotes self-imposed limitations. Before you decide that you can't do something, take a second to ask yourself, can you really not do that? Why not? Why can't, in concrete terms, talk me out of why you shouldn't do that? Because I'm a pretty logical person when I need to be. Tell me why you shouldn't do that. Explain it to Dr. Whimsy. Why you shouldn't live your best life. What's holding you back? What you sit in, what is the Ace of Cups, a desire for a deep, profound love. It's kind of interesting. I feel like what Spirit is doing, and I'm not saying that it all has to be sexual love or romantic love. I'm talking about love. What Spirit seems to be talking about a lot in these records over the last couple weeks has to be talking about how we construct loving relationships in our lives, that there's a right and a wrong way to construct the foundation of what is going to be a healthy relationship. And it starts with, number one, being a safe person to yourself. Am I safe? Am I harming myself? Am I being abusive to myself? This is something I'm thinking about personally right now because I'm doing a cleanse, right? Doing a cleanse. You can't take certain things you want to take. We have to be we want to do a detox, right? Too much chocolate cake, right? So now I'm off sugar, right? I'm off sugar. I'm reducing a lot of stuff. Here's breakfast, my nice green smoothie. You all know how I make that. So it's an energy of just, am I safe for me? Am I taking care of me? Am I somebody that others are safe with? Right? That's the first phase of constructing a sacred space. It first has to be sacred for yourself. right? Are you doing yoga every day? Are you, fundamentals of yoga is about being at ease, right? Being at peace with yourself, being in a good place, physically, mentally, emotionally, right? Ace of Cups, love yourself. It sits in the heart. What we are coming out of in our past, King of Wands, the tough king who had to make tough choices, the imperfect leader. Maybe we had an imperfect spouse. Maybe we were imperfect ourselves. Very loyal, by the way. Some would say more loyal than even the King of Pentacles, but it's a different type of loyalty. The King of Wands is loyal in the sense that he will take a bullet for his tribe, and he's typified in many stories as the king who throws himself on a grenade. Basically, he sacrifices himself for his tribe. That's the archetype of the King of Wands. Chango, who is the Yoruba, denotes justice and passion. Red in the Yoruba tradition. That's probably the most ancient example of the archetype of the King of Wands that I can think of would be Chango, actually, and that actually predates Yehuda. But it's the same idea of being imperfect, right? Chango, like Yehuda, is imperfect. He likes the ladies. He's got a couple of them, and but he's passionate and he's loyal. And in the end, he dies for his tribe. Like he sacrifices everything for the tribe. So we're coming out of a place of intense loyalty that results in wealth building, financial stability, emotional stability. In plainer words, the more you are loyal to yourself, the more you work towards being safe with others, right? Being true to your integrity, being respectful to yourself, and etc. It comes with wealth. It's like cause and effect. You reap what you sow in relationships. And it's kind of interesting to see that the readings are talking a lot about, how we can be respectful of ourselves and respectful of others, and not be a doormat. You don't want to turn somebody into a doormat. You don't want to be a doormat, and you don't want to turn somebody else into a doormat. I like that archetype a lot, the King of Wands. I like the idea of being able to love someone that's imperfect and who has made mistakes. Because when people deeply wound us, they destroy the foundations of love, and vice versa, because you don't feel safe anymore, right? So it's kind of interesting, the archetypes that they're using. Where we're at right now, a decision being made regarding in relationship to addiction, codependent relationships, unhealthy relationships. It's in the 8th house. So it could be that many of us are trying to resolve or have closure for relationships that we don't feel we have peace about. And there's and it has to do with these ideas about ethics, honesty, loving people who are imperfect, creating safe spaces for others. Final outcome is the 2 of Cups, which is the sacred contract. I had a feeling that's where Spirit was taking me. Before we started the session, because it was talking about love and sacred spaces, and it was kind of continuing on from what we had talked about last week, which was about, am I safe? Do you feel safe when you're with me? Is there something that I've done? Is there something that I need to change? I can't change who I am, but if I'm being cruel to someone, I need to know it, right? So all these things that we can do in order to create the sacred in our lives. And it doesn't surprise me that it wound up as a 2 of Cups. Basically, what Spirit is saying is that love is not it's not just some magical thing that happens. It's something that we construct. It's something real that we construct by choosing to behave a certain way with people, like a choosing to be a safe person, choosing to be respectful, choosing to be honest. These are the foundations of love, of building love. All right, very interesting. Did everybody enjoy that? It's just so simple. Maybe not. All right, let me get some water here. Is everybody ready for some blitzes? You want some water? Go ahead. All right, let's get the questions going. I'm already done with it. You can help yourself. All right. Let's see here. All right, first question comes from Denise L. Denise L. writes, "Hi, Dr. Whimsy. I'm wondering if there will be a justice for Karen Garner, the 73-year-old with dementia who was brutally arrested in Loveland, Colorado last June for allegedly shoplifting for Walmart. The arresting officer was so proud of his brutality." Yes, he really was, wasn't he? Did everybody here hear about this incident? Did everybody hear about this? A senior citizen with dementia. Yeah. Unfortunately, seniors with Alzheimer's, particularly when you're regressing and you may have the mental capacity of a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old who wants to go home now. 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, they don't really necessarily know you're supposed to pay cash for things. They go into a store and they just start grabbing things. You ever gone shopping with a kid? They just grab stuff and start eating it. You turn around and they're eating. They don't understand money. So if she had advanced Alzheimer's, like what they were describing, more than likely she had no mental capacity for any of it. She was just grabbing things and then leaving with her, So she had been, I think she was in some kind of setting. I don't know if was she even in independent living? I don't even know I don't think she was capable of independent living. But let's go ahead and let's do a blitz and let's see what we find out about this individual. It's just terrible. The whole thing is just terrible. All right, what will happen to the officer that harassed her? He's talking about it being the worst day of his life. He's talking about crying. He's crying. He's horrified because it almost feels like he's just like Felicity Huffman, right? I'm mortified, right? He's mortified by what he's done because he was in a headspace. This arresting officer seems to be saying that he was in some kind of a headspace and then he got smacked out of his headspace and now he gets it. And so wouldn't you be mortified if you were on a trip, you were in a headspace? Oh, thank you, Miss Brazil 1955, and thank you for the compliment. So that's kind of what he's saying to me in the remote. It's like he was in his trip. Obviously, his trip, something about the culture, perhaps, of where he was working may have encouraged him to have a certain attitude. I think that's what people are calling out in this particular case. That there was a culture or an attitude that he had developed because it was part of the culture to behave like that. And then to have somebody show him the film footage and say, this is actually what was happening, and then snap him out of the act, the character, the scene that he was in, which was evidently cool with his crowd. That's how it feels. It's the guy that wants to be part of the crowd, so he's a bully and a jerk because his friends are bullies and jerks. And then when you drag him out of the fight, you drag him out of the dirt and you show him film footage and say, are you really that big of an asshole? This is the kid that burst into tears and then runs home to mommy. That's where I find myself dealing with this person. You know, this is the guy who's crying in his wife's arms if he's married. I mean, that's why it's hard for me to get mad at these people, because you want to kick them, and then you go into the remote view and you've got some sniveling kid holding a teddy bear with his wife acting like mommy. It feels like that. It just does. Just the emotional immaturity, partnerships, and temper, whether or not, how can you blame him for simply doing what was encouraged? The behavior was encouraged. It exposed the behavior. It was extremely embarrassing. It was like having the whole sun on you. The whole world is laughing at you, little Tommy. You, little Tommy, are a fool. You, little Tommy, everyone's laughing at. Oh my God, this is so embarrassing, right? You just want to hide under a rock when the sun comes out, right? That's what it feels like. The consequences, the blue line, right? The ice blue line of the police. Police are often represented as the King of Swords, which is a military card. It's also a card we denote with ice, cold, cruel. He sits in a blanket of ice. He's wearing an ice robe. What he sits in, there's a judgment coming. There have been meetings about what to do with him. They've actually had formal meetings, and a judgment is coming down from his supervisors based on those meetings. It's already been decided that he's going to leave. He's gone. This is past. He's a strong guy. He'll get through it. Maybe he'll go into farming. I think he's got family that's involved in rural farming and that sort of thing. Maybe he needs to go live on the farm with his dogs and his wife and start growing potatoes, because there's this aspect here. This is somebody who probably, well, no, he wouldn't be happy with that because this guy's too social for that. They're building actually this is more than getting fired. They're now digging even deeper, and he's facing actual legal action. You can see the law coming in, the truth coming out. You've got a sun card here. These are both cards that denote revealing the truth. And then you have Four of Wands, a new beginning for his life. His wife was considering divorcing him. And then the final outcome is Three of Swords. But it does have that feeling that he needs to get back to what's real, get back to his priorities, his family, the things that are important in life. I don't think this story is over, and I think that he could be facing even some kind of legal future problems and possibly even criminal charges. I feel that the police in many cities and states, that the microscope is right over them. And so consequently, they feel that they have to make an example of these officers, go through retraining again. I also feel that the city council and the city in many states, based on some remotes I did last night, I feel that the city councils are getting fed up with the police, and it could even theoretically have an impact on budgets. So yeah. Look, he'll go through a soul searching. What people want to do in order to fit in with the cool kids. That was how the cool kids behaved. He thought it was funny. Hey, I'm one of the cool kids, handling this one. Yeah, this is how we do. We're cool. So that's basically how it looked. I don't know. What do y'all think? Okay, let's see. So we all know about Newsmax, right? You all know that Newsmax had to formally apologize about the voting fiasco. Does everybody know about that? All right, so let's do it. This question's coming from Tina Perucci. Hi, Tina. Good to see you. Can you read on Fox News? It must be hard to come up with a new spin every day. Are they worried about the spin? We'll catch up on them with them, and will they have to face a lawsuit with the voting machines? Yeah, let's take a look at Fox News's future with the voting. Yeah, there's people with a lot of money coming after them. And after that, we'll get to Foggy's question. We'll start doing blitzes because I know people have a lot of questions. So it'll just be 4 cards. Yeah. Yeah, Fox is in trouble. The Knight of Swords is a violent energy. It's a violent, like, wind energy. It can be a police raid. I think whatever Rod Rosenstein, I know people were questioning him. All I can tell you is that it feels like stuff was put in the back of the freezer, well preserved, hidden in the back of the freezer. You will find the goods, right? And then somebody knew precisely when it was safe, where to go and dig the goods out of the back of the freezer. And they've got you. This feels like it's happening very fast. It feels like there's a lot of raids. It feels like a lot of people are going to prison. It feels to me like rope-a-dope. I've always said that when I go into this, it feels like rope-a-dope, like everybody was cocky, like they let the Russians walk through the front door of the White House. It's almost as if they did it deliberately, as if it was part of some grand scheme. It almost feels like, let them think they've won. We could let them think they win. We could let them go through the front door. We could see how far we can take this and have them not know that we're surveilling everything. There's a lot of stuff we won't be able to control, and we're taking quite a risk if we do this. But if we do this, in the end, we'll win the war. It has an aspect like the whole entire time they were being monitored and surveyed, and that it wasn't quite as, oh my God, what's happened, as people think. Because this is like, boom, we're there. Yeah, I think, remember what I had said about what it feels like to me as a remote viewer? I really wish that Sheila was here because she's really good. Is she around? But what it feels to me when I go into this energy is that laptops are going to be seized. Remember when I talked about January 6th being the main investigation for the Justice Department? And actually, Merrick Garland said, my top priority is January 6th because they attempted to overthrow the government. So, of course, it's going to be the number one priority. So, when I follow that energy, I see that they coordinated the attack using Republican Party offices, equipment, etc. And they basically took over the RNC in order to do some of this stuff. So remember also a couple of years ago how I said that there were FBI agents crawling all over Fox News? Does anybody here from a couple years ago? Do I have any old timers here? Anybody remember from a couple of years ago when I went in and we did a remote and I saw all these FBI agents running around doing odd things. So, yeah, that's basically how it feels. It feels like they have that, yeah, the FBI is crawling all over the place. They've got informants all over the place because it goes back to this unholy alliance between the guys on the boats, the guys on the yachts, creating fake media in order to promote foreign interest. And how these guys have avoided jail for so long because they were informants, right? So part of that mess is Fox News. Look, they're going before a judge, and the documents are being subpoenaed, and laptops are being subpoenaed. This is looking like it's more than just the vote. It's why did they do that? The judge, the prosecuting attorneys, the FBI, it's not enough that you lied about voting integrity in the United States. That's not why you've been called in. That's not why you're being deposed. We're deposing you. The reason why we're having this conversation in this room right now with your attorneys and our attorney and the prosecutors is because of what we found when we started to look into, what are the financial dealings of the people that run? Obviously, they have foreign international ties. So at that point, you're basically working for you're not the news, you're working for foreign governments, and you're working for to help aid somebody in their campaign. So what happens to Fox News appears to be a series of criminal investigations that go far deeper than just the whole issue of the voting fiasco. Because we have a federal raid possibly even going so far as confiscating computers, documents, hard drives, etc. from Fox. So this is looking more like co-conspirators than the news. You see what I'm saying? So then you have the heartbreak coming in. And then you have the grief. And then all that evidence has to go before a judge. So this is not the news. This is war. And the Justice Department is looking at it as a war. And the Justice Department is looking at them as basically working for the other side. That's what it looks like. And it also looks like, based on previous remotes, that this investigation's been going on for about 12 years. This was a very slow investigation. All the Russia stuff, it didn't get buried. The microwave attack by the White House, that's a whole other conversation. Remember, people had been spreading rumors, and the Pentagon was in on it, trying to get everybody to believe little green men were coming to get us. And we were seeing these advanced weaponized drones, and we were convinced they were aliens from outer space. But you're all intelligent people here because we're steely-eyed realists, even though we do this for entertainment, right? What's the more logical explanation? If it's not our drones, whose is it? If you read, you know that NATO is very concerned about Russia being in violation of certain treaties by weaponizing advanced drone systems. So the fact that America has responded by creating a space force while joking about UFOs, I think it's just a cover story so that people won't be freaked out about the fact that we're being, basically we're being undergoing surveillance by foreign governments. And some of the advancements they have in these drones make it very difficult for us to monitor and control them. And if they get weaponized, it's a very scary situation. So I think that that's what's going on. I think they don't want to freak people out. And so they're just, to the benefit of the nation's security, they spread little green men stories. I think that's what I think is going on. All right. All right. Foggy OG writes, is GND geared up yet to save the planet? I don't know what GND is. Do the majority of humans really care, or do they care more about their creative comforts? The number of creatures around Take Lake are dwindling bad. The number of creatures around lake are dwindled bad. I think she's talking about I don't know what GND is. Green New Deal. Oh. Yeah, the Green New Deal is the future, because our ancestors, right? They gave us a prefrontal cortex. What does a prefrontal cortex do in addition to giving us a sense that there's a unified self? Even though there is not a unified self, there are actually 4 brains, but let's pretend that there's just one of you, even though there really isn't. But that's a whole other conversation. So the prefrontal cortex, right? 200,000 years ago, we save ourselves. We decide we're not going to go extinct. We decide we're going to cooperate with one another, live and let live, and figure out a way to save ourselves. And we do that because we develop this amazing capacity to cooperate. And along with cooperation becomes a greater sense of self-awareness. Prefrontal cortex, the frontal cortex, right, is the great executor that can stand back and look at a situation detached without any emotion. That's not the same as the reptilian complex, right? Which is concerned with comfort, safety, sex, food, right? Or the limbic system, which is concerned with love, right? But the frontal cortex is interested in being an executor, objective reason, being able to stand back and look at the situation and say, God, you're making an absolute fool of yourself, Whimsy. What are you doing? That voice is another self. So I think it's kind of interesting when people spiritually, from a spiritual perspective, people will talk about who's that, who was the observer watching me when I was having a meltdown? Well, that was you too. That was another part of your brain that is like another brain. So we have that. And it's getting stronger, right? We're evolving towards, is that a light? Light mine. We're evolving towards perfection, right? We're in Hebrew, it's called tikkun olam, right? The fixing of the world. We're creating heaven on earth. So, yeah, it's cool. And it's cool to see us witnessing it. I'm kind of curious before I do this throw. Who here would buy a condo in space? If you had the money, would you do it? Would you buy one of these condos that Elon Musk is talking about? Or would you be worried that you only could afford a one-way ticket and you couldn't get back? Like, my ex-husband loved space travel story. I mean, he loved astronomy. I told him, well, what if you go up there? We were talking about this like 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And I said, well, what if you went up there and you could never come back? You would just be forced to live, rotate. He said, for the opportunity, he said, to go, he would face that fear because it was such a big deal. So if it's a big dream for somebody to be an astronaut or to be launched in space, I think that there are people that want that experience so badly that they would take that risk. It's just something that they feel that they have to do. I would be like, I'd pack the lunch bag. I'm an earth daughter. I'm a child of the earth. I need to stay right here. You go do what you got to do. I'm staying right here. All right. Do we save the planet? Ooh. They say we are saving it now. My goodness. People are people all over the world. So it's this thing we keep saying to people, don't be greedy. Don't be greedy. You're too greedy. Don't be greedy. Every time I go into the energy and I try talk to the earth, Gaia, whatever you want to call this earth energy, and I always connect with this idea of that human beings are too greedy, and the response I get back from Gaia, from the earth, is good. Your greed is your best asset. From her perspective, the greed that Gaia has, she's greedy too. So your greed, the greed that you have, the greed that I have, where we want the best of everything, I want too, right? And 2 cream puffs. If you're offering me a cream puff, I'll take 2, right? That's greed. Greed for life, greed for more, right? More. No, you should detach. You should just eat brown rice. From her perspective, that yeah, brown rice is cool. You got to take care of your health, but I gave you this whole wonderful world. Be greedy, experience life, go out and have fun. Use greed as a motivation to save it. If you're greedy about life, and if you're greedy about the planet, and you love and enjoy this world, then that should motivate you as a greedy person to do everything in your power to expand the resources. So that is why green capitalism kind of is the thing that takes off for a lot of people that are Republican. You can see it happening very quickly. 8 of Wands is a fast, quick. It's like drop the mic. My work here is done, right? The congressman dropped the mic because the 1.9 trillion was enough to save the country, save the infrastructure, save the planet. Well, my work here is done. Drop the mic, right? 8 of Wands is a card that because I read wands as the months, it can be the month of August. It's also quick, fast, quick. It also can be multiple projects. Boom, 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 boom. Now, an example of that would be the bridge that's separating, I think it is Ohio and Kentucky. It's desperately needs work, and so Biden is going to rebuild it. And you would think that McConnell would be happy about this, but McConnell is pissed because it's making us look great. It's making the Democrats look fantastic, right? Okay, so growth, anger, violence, aggression. This can be earth changes. Remember what I had said? I saw a lot of wind. The wind's coming. Topsoil being blown away in the Dust Bowl was a problem in the 1920s. If we lose our ground cover, and then the winds come in, so this continues to be a problem. We see. We have the business world coming in. It's almost like the business world is the salvation, in the sense that the greed, I want you to buy my wind turbines. I want you to buy my fuel cell technology. No, my fuel cell technology. No, it becomes who's the best at saving the planet becomes the new competition, because the buyer, that would be you and me, we're going to pick the one that has the best environmental record, and that's money. Right? That's money for them. So it behooves them financially to produce things that are good for the planet. And the great thing, if you produce things that protect and advance the resources, what happens? You wind up with more stuff. So what Gaia is always saying in the reading is, the more you love and take care of me and give me what I need, the more I can love you and give you what you want and what you desire. And let us expand the love into infinity. Let us expand this world into the infinite universe. But if you're going to have me as a partner, the life force of the earth, Gaia, you need to do some stuff for me. You got to help me out too here, folks. You got to be kind to me. Love me so that I can love you back. So then we have the final, she's the consort to man, right? You don't need to rape her, right? You don't need to subdue the earth. You just need to love her and find out what she needs and give it to her, and she will take care of everything you need. Final outcome is we receive a star or anointing or grace on the earth. It goes back always to these sacred contracts. So, but I love the fact that star comes as we are anointed, right? But it's interesting. Business, the business world can actually play a part. That was an interesting reading, wasn't it? So we've been here for a little bit over an hour. If you haven't had a chance to do so yet, share, like, subscribe, click the bell notification, all that good stuff. And what else did I have to say? Yeah, if you need to use the restroom, you can go ahead and use the restroom. I'll take a couple seconds to see if I answered everybody's questions here. Yeah, Gina's talking about space travel. Yeah, I liked the fact, I thought it was cool that that somebody was sharing a desire like that with me, but I personally, I don't personally have a desire to be an astronaut, or a lot of people do, though. Yeah, it's a good question coming from Michelle Taylor. Will they win? Will the Republicans win back the House? Let's find out how the Republicans are going to be doing in when is it? 2022? Next year, right? They're voting. Do I have something in my eye? It looks like a dot. Maybe it's the light. All right. Will the GOP win the House in the next election? Probably not. By the way, Matt Gaetz is almost hysteric. Oh, he is hysteric. I mean, he thought it was a joke, and now he's facing prison, and nobody's returning his calls. I'd be terrified if I was Matt Gaetz. Here's Biden. He leads on the question of who's going to be taking control of Congress. Here's his vice president, Kamala. Here is waiting for their ships to come in, building a great life. They're hanging up the Republican Party. No, the Republican Party is going down. I mean, there are Republicans that watch this. I have friends that are sane Republicans. I don't want to insult anybody, but there are Republicans that watch this channel, believe it or not. And I've always said to them, if you want to save your party, go green capitalism. You can still support the military. You can still support your friends that are working that own Walmart. All we're saying is that there have to be international standards, and this is where everybody's heading. Don't you want to be where the money is? I mean, there's a way to save your party. It's like they're treating the environmental movement, which everybody's on the board. Even China's now going to be. It's like they're dinosaurs. They're living in a time that's come and gone. And, but nobody's saying you have to stop being a Republican. I mean, if they continue to fight us on what's obvious and chase after, 45, then no, they're not going to win the Congress. Not only that, but they're going to be losing a ton of people because people are happy with Biden. everybody got their jobs back. I mean, I don't know. What do y'all think, huh? All right, let's see the next question. You guys ready for another question? I'm here as long as you want. Okay, Roxanne Dana. There you go. She writes, when will North Korea announce that Kim Jong-un is and has been gone and that his sister is in charge? Well, you heard his sister, right? When did we do the remote? She came and talked to us. Y'all remember that? I'm trying to figure out. Some of you are new, some of you are not new. Do you remember what she said to us? She said that she had always been the real leader of Korea. It's kind of like she follows behind, and her brother was the face. But meanwhile, she was the one. She said, I am the true. What did she say? She said, I am the true leader of North Korea, and I have the soul of my grandfather in me. So, yeah, she feels that it is her destiny. She gave him, that's right. She gave him candy because the thing about Kim Jong-un that came out in the remote is that he had so much fear and anxiety of his father and grandfather and the shoes that he was filling. And he knew that he could never be that. So how he handled the anxiety is that he ate the churning knot in his stomach. He mistook it for hunger. And so his eating was a part of his mental health disorders. So what she would do is she knew that, and she would manipulate him. And then the family would put him on a diet where they would say, don't give your brother any food, don't give your brother any candy, because his father is watching his diet. And so his parents would watch him at the table to make sure he didn't know. I mean, this is how bad it got based on the remote. And so he developed a closet eating disorder, and then that his sister promoted. So she was closet getting him junk food, and then he had to do things for her. That's so there's and this is supposed to be the one he trusts the most. Think about that. Thanks, Liz. All right. North Korea is Kim Jong-un. Maybe Kim Jong-un just got a face change and quit. Maybe he's not dead. I don't know. What's going on in North Korea? There's some kind of a new contract happening. The devil. They're chained in a relationship that they can't get out of. That's destructive. It's coming to an end. The situation is changing. And a new leader emerges, and it's a woman. See the contract here? The chain. The karmic wheel. And this is Kim Jo-jong's card. What they're basically saying is that she wins the position She refuses to be anything other than the leader of North Korea. She feels that she has been leading North Korea from the beginning. She's having problems with the military because the military doesn't think a woman can lead. The response in the cards is that the relationship between this dynasty and the North Korean people is such that they can't get rid of her. The people won't allow him to get rid of her. So they're stuck with her. And so because she believes it's true, because she believes it's her destiny to rule North Korea, because she has no doubts, she's the head of propaganda, and she believes this is true, it is. And so it is. I believe that she will rule North Korea. What do y'all think? What do you think, folks? Okay. What do you think of those cards? Oh my God. Did I go downstairs and mingle the other day? No, I didn't. And I should have, but don't you think it would have been rude? I don't know the birthday girl. They all were sitting in a circle celebrating her and drinking wine, and they were inviting people, and people were coming and joining. But I just felt like it would be rude to go down there and say hi and pretend like I really want to know who you are, but I'm really just wanting one of those lemon bars. You know, it just would have been. So I didn't. Yeah. Well, we have time for one more reading. It's already 12:30. We've been here for an hour and a half. Mila has conked out. She has decided that she is done. She can do an hour and then she's done. Little kitty's done for the day. So we're going to go ahead and have one more question. Okay, anybody have a last question? Let's see here. Michelle, I missed you. Don't be an introvert. Hang out with me. Can I poll on what kind of leadership she will be? The kind of leader that she's been up to this point, because according to her, she was always the leader and he was just the front for her. That's basically what she's saying. And then the front died. So what's she going to do? Well, at first she hired some actors. Can you imagine that? It's like the front. Who's the real leader of North Korea? Jo-jong. She's always been the leader since her father died, because I have the soul of my grandfather in me. That's why I'm the leader. My brother is weak with his prostitutes and his drugs and his food. Her job was to supply it, to make sure that he was happy with his addiction so that she could go out and rule the country. And she was producing stuff out of the propaganda wing of the government, and also winning the hearts of the poorest of the poor. Remember when we had done a remote viewing of the northwest section of North Korea, and we had found that it was extremely poor. There was very little infrastructure. It almost looked like wilderness. Remember that? Those are the folks that love her, because she has been kind to the poorest of the poor. There's no way the military can do whatever they want with her, because what comes out in the remote and what comes up in the cards is that this family, they think this family is divine. They think that these folks are deities. They're like gods. So you can't just go and kick out a god and replace it with the military. People are not going to settle for the military when they can have a goddess. So they're going to pick the goddess, of course. So now North Korea is in a pickle, the military is, because they've got to deal with this person. But from her perspective, she's always been the leader anyway, and they know she's always been the real leader. So get over yourselves. I mean, that's her feeling. and the people love me. And if you threaten me, they will rise up against you. So, because of who her grandfather was. So it's I think that once they work out the contract, because it started off with a three of pentacles, excuse me, which is to enter into a contract of some type. It's a real estate card. It's also a blueprint, but it can be read as a contract. It's almost like the military and Kim Jo-jong are working on the fine print before they publicly come out and say that she's in charge. That would be how I would interpret it. Okay, so the last question we're going to do is about the future of India. This question comes from Janine Kiala. She would like to know about the future of India. Hi, Janine. Thanks for joining me today. I think North Korea is one of the most disturbing remotes that I do. I don't know how the audience feels about it, but don't you? I mean, like, that's a pretty sick relationship. I mean, the where I find myself as a remote viewer when I go into that relationship, it's very sick. Okay. Future of India. Okay, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. Here's the desperate situation that they're in. They're calling in some districts, some boroughs. I've never been to India, so please forgive me if I get this wrong. But here is how it appears to me as a remote viewer using the quick technique. They're going to have to start closing areas down. As horrible and horrific and as awful and it's evil and they don't want to do this thing, public health is advising that some rural areas of India have to be completely locked in. You can't go in, you can't go out. That's the only thing they can do. They can send in Red Cross, they can send in people to immunize, they can send in oxygen. But at this point, in some remote villages and in some areas where the concentrations of the disease are so high and they're worried about outbreaks of new mutations and a potential global catastrophe if those mutations turn into another mutation and another mutation, and then all of a sudden we have a brand new pandemic on our hands. And so how it feels to me when I sit in this energy is that I'm going to have to, I'm a woman first, I'm female, and I seem to be in the equivalent of Fauci, and I'm in India, and I have to make a tough decision to close the roads. And I'm going to be accused of having racist policies and the caste systems because the poorest of the poor are going to be locked in. But we are now at a point because of a lack of oxygen and resources that I have to make a tough call. We have nobody. The only people that need to go in are vaccinated people from Red Cross and people who can give aid. But other than that, they're going to start closing areas down. So it's bad, I would say. They have to. They have no choice. It's a tough. They didn't want to do this because they knew that they were going to be hit with a lot of accusations. That's what it feels like as I sit in this person's shoes. I don't know who she is. Does somebody have her name? Somebody from India probably knows who I'm talking about. Let's. So she's my in. She's my in. Tall woman with a ponytail, and she's wearing a white coat. Anybody in India know who I'm talking about? She's talking. Emergency situation. Also, they're saying it's an emergency situation. It's like boroughs or areas. Healthcare workers, the equivalent of our CDC, are reporting back from boroughs in certain areas with high concentrations of people and high COVID. And those areas have to be basically locked. They're on lockdown and isolation. There's some stuff going on in Southeast India that's quite bad. The problem wasn't bad in the major cities like people would think, because we were able to get certain resources into urban areas. Where we lost control was in the Southeast. She's talking. And when it got out of control was when it wound up in the rural areas in the East. And at that point, the virus basically was out of our control at that point. And we didn't want to do anything that would have been construed as, prejudiced or bigoted. What we tried to do is contain it into the major cities. And then when it breached and got into those areas, at that point, we had to call for help. And that's why we have to decide to close these areas. But we're damned if we do, and we have no choice. We have to do this. So, what would you do? Look, this is very bad. What she's saying is very, very bad. What she's saying is very, very bad, because if you close people in and you don't give them if you don't give them basic medical care, but you're just trying not to spread the disease, then you're going to be accused of genocide. You're going to be it's a potentially bad situation that I'm finding myself in this remote, to be quite frank with you. And they're waiting for their ship. They're waiting for help. All they can do is lock everybody in, and that is good. They don't want this to look like Bergen-Belsen, right? Which is what happened in Bergen-Belsen. They locked everybody in and took off and let people starve to death. But that is what is starting to happen if they can't get some oxygen and aid into these areas. And you can see they just wrote it off. That's the feeling. I'm just going to write off Borough 647 because the concentrations of COVID are too high. We can't get in, so we've locked them down, and there's no oxygen, and they're the poorest of the poor. And so if we have limited oxygen, the Bollywood actors are going to get it. We're not going to send it to Southeast India. So you're on your own, kid. That's the situation in India right now, as I understand it as a remote viewer. So I've never been to India. Anybody been to India, or anybody know what I'm talking about? Explain it to me. I don't know what I'm saying. I mean, a leopard colony would maybe look like this, closing a leper colony and not letting the lepers in and out. It's like, good God, we're not going back to that again, are we? And again, I've never been there. That's what they're going to be. What would she's tall. She's got her hair in a ponytail. She's Indian. She's thin. She's meeting with directors, the people in charge, and the fact that they didn't close sooner is why the situation's gotten as bad as it has. Oh, God, I don't want to leave you guys on such a dark note. I mean, that's probably how it ends, though, is they wait for the ships to come in, and the poorest of the poor are always the last to get the resources. Does anybody know who she is? Anybody here from India? who I'm talking to? I guess if we Google it, we could find her. Elaine Goad. You know, I don't think that the scientist, that obviously the scientist has some empathy, right, Elaine? Or I wouldn't have, because if you're doing the quick technique and you're open, you know, I imagine opening everything and I'm sending information, and then immediately somebody pops into the space and starts. Usually the person that's popping in is an empathic person who's compassionate, who doesn't want something horrible to happen. So I don't think that, here's the concern. Even if the optics look bad, they're terrified of new mutations and new variants. But putting people, you know, creating like a walled city and locking people in without oxygen and basic medical care is not, you know, it will not be, it will not bode well, you know. All right, everybody. A lot of spiritual lessons right now for people because of the pandemic, I think. All right, so Bugs Bunny would like us to end on a positive note, as is we usually like to end with something light like celebrity gossip. So thanks for bailing me out, Bugs Bunny. Okay, so we're going to lighten up the energy. She says, we can do Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, or Sean Penn, or Grumpy Cat. Didn't Grumpy Cat pass away? I'm just Debbie Downer today. All right, let's see if George Clooney and his wife are going to have another baby. Let's see how their relationship is. George Clooney, he's a nice guy, right? The future of George Clooney and his beautiful wife, Emil, and are they going to have any more beautiful babies? How's that for a nice closing? See, he fell in love with a human rights lawyer. She's all that in a bag of chips. See, you can be beautiful and brilliant. I wonder what kind of Akashic records they're going to let me see. I'm curious now. Poverty. Leaving the broken man. Trying to get away out of poverty. Feeling that I'm trapped and I can't get out. Violent, angry energy from the military, like angry, violent energy. The end, possible legal divorce. Looks like they're facing a potential divorce. I didn't expect that. Well, that was a drag. Their marriage isn't going well. See? Can we do something happy? Leaving the broken man. Feeling like she's trapped. Anger, violence. This is the end. This is the end, my friend. The Knight of Pentacles. What do we know about the Knight of Pentacles? He isn't going anywhere, right? He's the Clydesdale. He just sits. A lot of the time, this can be the end. And it can also be money. I would say that this is a couple that is in some trouble. Well, I was rooting for them. That's too bad. Jello and Ben Affleck. Good God, I hope not. I actually had compassion for J-Lo because she was like, you go out and you be with some other woman. I don't get. She was like kind of. Oh, didn't somebody ask? Melissa, you're so sweet. I love SNL. Somebody's talking about SNL. I love SNL. The funniest thing I ever saw on Saturday Night Live was Hot Wings with Beyonce. Who here saw Hot Wings with Beyonce on Saturday Night Live? If you haven't seen it yet, oh my God. I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard, it became painful. And I've watched it like 6 times. Oh my God. Has everybody seen? Just go to YouTube and type in SNL Beyonce Hot Wings. It was hysterical. The reason I sent it to Sheila at Celtic Tarot is I said, Sheila, when they make fun of you and I and the remote view on Saturday Night Live, you and I will know that we have made it. Because look what happened to the guy that does the little show on Hot Wings, right? He made it to SNL. So we're hoping that they do a little thing on us political psychics. That might be fun. Frank Zappa, isn't he happily married and a nice Christian boy, and it's all just an act, and he's actually a really nice man. And he's like a normal Christian. He's not insane. He's talked about that too. It's like if Christ abides in you, it's like you got to be a nice person, love your family. It's, you don't need to shout it to the rooftops, as they say. Oh, he died? Frank Zappa died? No, Frank Zappa died, not Frank Zappa died, but Frank Zappa's not the one that's the Christian. Who's the guy that was the Christian? It wasn't Frank Zappa, was it? Hey, I would love to live in a van down by the river. He died over 20 years ago. Not him, it's the other guy. Not Billy Idol. Oh, I always forget this guy's name. His daughter is on the act with him. Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper was a preacher's son. I've seen interviews with him. He's like a Christian, but he's very balanced. Somebody's saying, you don't preach, and you're a preacher's son. He said, when all else fails, preach. Just be, he's just cool as hell. Love Alice Cooper. Okay, so message from Frank Zappa. Let's do one more. We'll see if there's a message from Frank Zappa. And after that, we'll call it a day. Sound good? The Californians, yes, it's hysterical. Alice Cooper. Love Alice Cooper. Oh, can we do Alice Cooper instead? He's so sweet. Oh, but we were getting a message from Frank Zappa. I've got something on my eye, don't I? Or is that a shine? Is that just the sun? All right. Frank Zappa. Message from Frank Zappa. Love. Love, family. It's a beautiful, loving energy from this individual. If this person had a soulmate or a love of their life, it's like they're with them. It's kind of like love from us from heaven. It's a really beautiful card. It's kind of like spread more love in the world. 10 of Cups, love from heaven, power, the power of love. And then heartbreak and grief about the state of the world in terms of how humans treat one another. So I think that's really interesting. You have 2 cards about sending love and the power to change the world through love and how love comes from the heavens down. And then you have the state of the world right now, heartbreak and grief. So it kind of goes back to the Yoruba of Nigeria's perception, how they perceive of the ancestors, that they they are in that as wonderful as heaven is, the only way that they can experience life on this earth is through us and through our joys and through our sorrows and through our griefs. And because they love us, this is what attaches them to this world. And so because we love and honor our ancestors, we are called to be happy. We're to fulfill their dream that their grandchildren would be happy, right? This message that they feel our grief and they feel our pain. So it's kind of interesting to see that message from, of all people, Frank Zappa, love and healing and the power of love to change the world, and how even after they pass, they're attached to the world, the grief and the pains of the world. Isn't that cool? All right. I want to thank everybody for being with us today, this beautiful Sunday. If you would love to come in for a reading, I would love to give you a tarot reading. That would be cool. You can go to tarotwithwhimsy.com. The information is in the description below. I will look at Alice Cooper since everyone's talking about it. I got a piece of fuzz on my, is this fuzz? What is that on my eye? Or is that a light? I've got one there too. Is that my light? I don't know. I'm getting used to contacts. All right, let's see. Alice Cooper, such a sweet boy. It's so funny. If you ever see Alice Cooper performing, it's like him and his daughter. It's like all this crazy, wild stuff. Because when he was a kid, he used to like to watch the spooky, scary movies at night with the popcorn, recreate them, the 1950s horror stuff. But I was watching this video on him, and he was calling his daughter, and he's like, "It's almost 6 o'clock. I made dinner. Are you coming home for dinner?" And I thought, wow, Alice Cooper's so cool. Wow, he's really cool. He's talking about people getting too wrapped up in politics and not enough into being spiritual people. And as a Christian, he knows to steer clear of politics. And he feels really strongly about that, actually, in this remote. And that he saw that other Christians were like falling over Trump, etc. And he said he kind of kept his opinions to himself, and maybe he shouldn't have done that. Maybe when he began to have doubts about Trump and began to see this person as, he said that he and a lot of Christians, people that, they're trying to be Christ conscious. He didn't want to stir the waves with family and friends, and so he kind of didn't say anything. But he talks in this remote about the fact that he is moved by spirit. That people probably don't believe that, but Alice Cooper is basically saying that he feels God's presence because he is moved by spirit. When he prays, that he tries to be aligned with that part of him that's moved by spirit. That is what it has always meant to him to be a Christian. That's what he's saying. So he doesn't feel like that experience necessarily lends itself to politics, he's saying. The presidency, the fact that he felt like he was in the middle of it, defending things that he didn't feel that were indefensible. Rather that if people focused more on what Jesus said and more on his teachings and give your life to that rather than politics, that's really more of where he wants to That's where people should focus. So you get the impression when you go into this energy that this is a preacher, that this is a minister, that he may, I believe he may even be an ordained minister, if I'm not mistaken. But you have Ace of Wands coming in. So that's an entrepreneur. It's like beginning a new road, beginning a new road with Christ. So you have the Hierophant, which is how he looks to Christ, a new beginning and how he looks to Christ. So this is really, he's not saying you shouldn't talk about politics, because he has talked about politics. What he's saying is that for him personally, particularly now that he's older, he's starting to really feel the need more and more to have this sacred union with Christ. And that's a spiritual experience for him that doesn't have anything to do with what's going on in DC. That's basically what Alice Cooper is saying. I don't know. Maybe he prayed on it and didn't feel right about voting for Trump, and maybe he voted for nobody. Maybe he voted for Trump and had mixed feelings about it. But this is not somebody who supports him now, that's for sure, because he's talking about that Christians should leave politics to politicians and instead focus on, we have a spiritual path too, he's saying, just like, I'm not a Christian, I'm speaking for him as I understand what he's saying. Buddhists have a spiritual path to enlightenment, and Hindus have a path, so Christians should get on their path. That's what he said, that this is just as legitimate a spiritual path to enlightenment as any other. So why are you talking about DC? Get on the path. Get on the path of Christ consciousness, of really hearing Christ's words, of really, be a Christian. So, or be a believer. I think that's what he would say. Okay. Deep stuff, deep messages from Alice Cooper, right? Good minister, right? He's a good minister in times of trouble. All right. Did everybody have fun? Excellent. All right. All right. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you next time. And yeah. Bye, everyone.